Hello, everybody. We're back once again, and I have to tell you, I've had a lot of requests from people that want to see an earring class. So that's what we're going to do today. I think I mentioned it in the last video, so I'm going to follow through with that. The first thing I want to do is one that, since it looks like we're going to be wearing masks for the foreseeable future, I thought it would be really nice. A lot of people are making their own masks to fit their own aesthetic, and so I thought it would really be neat if we could make something that would go nicely with our mask. And I saw this picture of the Queen wearing a mask that matched her entire outfit. Now, I don't like to go all matchy-matchy like that, but I thought it would be nice if we could have something that would at least offset our mask so that we could, like, be safely stylish. So I made this little kind of dangly earring out of some spare cloth that I had used to make a mask and other things before. So really, it only takes a scrap of material. And what I've done is, well, let me tell you what it takes. It takes a scrap of material, 3 by 3.5 inch square. So you cut that out, and then of course I used a couple of beads. I used a large hole bead. You can either use the European style large hole beads, or this is a wooden bead. I found it in a hair supply place, so we're getting rid of them, and it's these wooden beads. They have these huge holes in them, if you can see that, and I thought it was a really nice offset to the European beads that I'm used to using with the large hole. So I just bought a bunch of these, and they work perfectly for this project. And then on the top, just to give it a little bit more decoration, I used a small painted wooden bead. And so that's what we need today. We need that. We need the squares of fabric, 2 of them, 3 by 3.5 inch square. That's the size I used to make this little tassel earring. You can make it bigger or smaller, whatever size you want, but this particular one that hangs about like that is about 3.5 inch square. So you'll need that, and you'll need 20 gauge wire, and of course your usual pliers, your round nose pliers, your chain nose pliers, and a pair of cutters, and a pair of scissors, and a ruler so that you can measure out your fabric. Okay, so the first thing that we need is a piece of 20 gauge wire that's about 3 inches long, and another one that's about 2 inches long, because I'm also going to show you how to make your own ear wire without having to buy them. So those are the things that we need. So the first thing that you're going to do is take your fabric, and we're going to, I fold it in half in a triangle shape. You can do them one at a time. I just put them together. Fold them in half. Yeah, let's do them one at a time. Put 2 of the points together, fold it, and then take your scissors and clip a tiny little hole. It does not have to be a big hole, just enough that you can poke this piece of wire through. So you don't want it to be too big. So you're just going to take the tip of your scissors, find the approximate center of your fabric, and if you really want to be more exact about it, then fold the fabric in half again, and that'll show you where your center is. And then clip the tiniest little piece that you can. Just make a little snip in there, and I can see there's a little bit of a split. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other piece of fabric. Find my center, put a little clip in there. Yes, there it is. And then I'm going to take my 3 inch piece of wire and make a loop. I need a large loop in there, so that it will catch when I slide it up in here, it'll catch on the hole. So I need a very large loop. So what I'm going to do is take my wire, clamp it with the pliers, clamp the very tip of the wire all the way back to the base of my pliers, the largest part of my pliers. And I'm going to make a loop. I'm just going to rotate that around until I have a nice closed loop. So there we go. So there's my loop, and you can see it's kind of a P shape that I have going here right now. And what I'm going to do is bend it back until my loop is on top of the wire. So the long piece is horizontal and the wire is round on top. Okay, now I'm going to take that piece of wire, I'm going to feed it through that little opening that I cut. And now you can see why you don't want it too big, because you don't want this to come through. And now I'm going to put the other piece on. Same thing. There we go. And if you want to make it more interesting, just kind of rotate them around so that the points are going off in sort of a star shape. You can put them on top of each other, but if you graduate it a little, it'll make the skirt a little bit more interesting. So now that we've got that, I want to fold it down. Oh, I forgot a step. Sorry about that. Take that back off of there. Put your pieces together again. Fold them in a triangle once and again. So I have a small triangle there. There we go. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut these edges off. I want to round it out. So I'm going to just cut it until it's rounded on one side like that, and then do the same thing on the other side. So that's what I have. Get this off a little bit more. There. So that's what I have. So now I'm going to open it out. So I have two round pieces of fabric now. So now I'm going to take one of them, feed the wire through the little hole, take the other one, feed the wire through the little hole, like so. And now that they're round, they can't really be graduated. But so now we've got those in there like that. Now I'm going to fold it down like so. And then I'm going to fold it in half again, like that. And now I'm going to take my large holed bead, push it down over the wire, and then scoot my fabric. Might have to fold it a little bit, push it up as far as I can get it into the large holed bead. And I'm going to check, see the distance between the first one that I have and the second one, and they look pretty similar. Just push that up there. And now your wire is holding this in place. Now I've seen some people just kind of glue things inside the bead. You can do that, that's perfectly fine, but and then you don't have to do the wire part. But this way, if I put this wire through there, that takes care of this and the and my ear wire. Everything is included in this one little piece. So there's my little skirt on my bead, like so. And so now what I'm going to do is put the other little bead on top of there. So put that in the wire, like so. There we go. And now I'm going to make a wrapped loop on top so that I can put my ear wire in there. So what I want to do is take the tip of my round nose pliers Bend the wire back until it's horizontal just above the beads, like so. Then I'm going to slide my pliers in about 1/3 of the way down the pliers. See that? I'm going to wrap the wire over top of the pliers and down until it meets the bead. And I'm going to bring it up a little bit until it meets the pliers. I don't want to go any further than that. So now I have a nice round loop. You can see that. Yeah, there you go. Now I'm going to grab the loop from the side with my pliers and wrap the wire around just below the loop in between the pliers and the bead. And you want to give yourself at least 2 good wraps. And there we go. Now I can trim off that excess wire, get rid of that, and take my pliers and just squeeze down the tip of the wire so it's not sticking out and it won't catch on anything. I like to check with my finger to see if I can feel it. And as long as I can feel it, I know it needs to be pinched down a little more. There we go. And there is my earring. So the next thing we need to do is make an ear wire. So I have about 2 inches of 20 gauge wire here. And the first thing we're going to do is make a loop. So I'm going to take my pliers, slide the wire down till it's about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, right there. And I'm going to make a small loop. So just rotate until I have a closed loop. There we go. Now, I showed you before how to get this loop to sit on top of the wire, but for this particular thing that we're doing, you want to keep that in a little P shape, and you'll see why in a minute. So what we're going to do now is make the large open loop that we use to hang it in your ear. Now, you can use the largest part of your pliers depending on how big you want that opening to be. I used a pencil because it just gives me the right, what I feel is the right look. So I'm taking any cylindrical item. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to place it right at the base of my loop. So just below my loop there. Like so. And I want it to be on the flat side of the wire, not the side where the loop actually lands. So I'm going to bring that underneath. And I'm going to wrap it around. It's hard to do in this position. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. And I'm just going to wrap it around my pencil, like so, until the wire meets the loop. So it's sort of like the hook, sort of like a little hook. So then what we want to do is start to curve this straight edge out a little bit. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to open this up a little. Because that's where it's going to hang in my ear. So I'm going to curve this out just a little bit, give it a little bit of a curve. And there we have it. I'm going to clip off what I don't need because there's a little extra there. That's about as long as it needs to be. Then I'm going to take either my round nose pliers or my flat nose pliers, whichever one you want, and just give it a little bit of a kink there, just a little bit of a crimp. And there we go. Those are my ear wires. And the easiest way to make ear wires that match is to do them both at the same time. Because I can put this up here and kind of adjust it so that it matches the other one. But you want them to be about the same. So now I'm going to open my loop on the side like that. Attach it to my earring, close my loop, and there we have it. Nice little pair of earrings out of some scraps of material that will go with my mask. Now I can see, you can trim this off because I can see that this one is a little longer than the other. So I'll take my scissors and I will just trim it down a little bit. Until they match. Get it all bubbly. And there we go. Excellent. Okay, so that is my Safely Stylish part of our program. So the next part that we're going to do, while I'm cleaning all of this up, you don't have to watch me do that. The next thing that we're going to do is some hoop earrings. And I want to show you how to do several. So we're going to use the same pliers, round nose, chain nose, flat nose, whatever you want to call them, and cutters, 20 gauge wire, and some beads. And we're going to make these. These all started out the same way. They all started out as a nice round hoop, and then you can change them to your own specifications. You can elongate you can take the round one and just make it longer. You can make it into a heart shape. You can add beads, you can add spirals, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to show you how to get it started and what to do to get the effect that I have here of these three types of earring. So the first thing that I did, this one right here that has very little adornment, it's just got the one bead on top, and I elongated the loop so that it looks more oval. That took 8 inches of wire for this loop. The other two take 10 inches of wire. Again, you can cut off what you don't need, and so that's the way I did that. So I took 8 inches of wire and just something round. You can use anything that's round, depending on what size you want. You can use a nail polish bottle. You can use one of these little things that I have beads in. That's what you see in there. Just ignore those. But anything that makes it the size that you want. So the first thing that we're going to do is wrap the wire around your cylindrical item. So we're going to shape the wire. Got a nice round shape here. I've got 2 ends sticking out. Now, about giving myself about 1.25 inches, and you can measure that off if you really want to. So I'm going to give myself about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, and I'm going to turn that end up. Just want enough to put my bead on. So I've got that turned up. One is turned up, The other one is still straight out to the side. The one that's straight out to the side, I'm going to wrap it around the one that's turned straight up. So I'm just going to wrap that around the one that's standing up. I'm going to put it back on here because I think that's easier. So if I hold it on there, let's wrap that around nice and tight. One time. Once I get the first wrap, it's easier. So I've got one wrap, two wraps, and I would suggest at least 2 wraps. Doesn't have to be any more than that, but 2 wraps to keep it nice and secure. So there we go. Okay. Then I can take it off of my shaper, and I have a nice round frame for my earring. Now I'm going to introduce a bead. So I've got this nice little crackle bead. I'm just going to feed that onto the wire like so. And I'm going to make a wrapped loop. Now you want your loop, you want to wrap it to the side so that the hole is facing this way, so that when you put your ear wire on, it's facing towards you. The hole needs to be facing side to side. Okay, so I'm going to take my pliers. May as well cut this off. We're not doing anything with this. If I was going to do anything with this little tail, I'd leave it on there and then I could decorate and whatever else I wanted to do. But because I'm not, I can go ahead and cut that off. And then take my pliers and again get rid of that end that's sticking up. Just squeeze it down until it's out of the way. There, nice and clean. Okay, now I'm going to put my bead back on, make my wrapped loop. So I'm going to put my pliers in right at the tip of my pliers, bend my wire back until it's, until it's horizontal, like so. Now I'm going to scoop my pliers down until they're about, a third of the way down my pliers. The wire's about a third of the way down my pliers. So there's my wire right there. Wrap the tail, pull the tail of the wire across the top of my pliers until I have a half circle. I'm going to continue bringing it back until it meets the underside of my pliers, like so. So now I have a full circle. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap the tail of my wire between the top of the bead and my pliers. This is a very small tail, so I'm going to use, if you want to start running out of wire, just use your pliers. Grab it with your pliers. And use that to pull it around. Here we go. And I'm going to squeeze down that tip. I had just enough. And there we have it. Okay, so that is the round version. You can leave it like that and wear it that way. But what I want to show you is how you can change the shape. So it's pretty easy. All you have to do is pull it. So I'm going to pull it from the top until it starts to get a little long. So I've got kind of an oval. So now what I want to do, since I want to match the one I have, is put it next to the one that I have and adjust the shape to suit this one. So I'm just going to squeeze it on the corner, pull it down a little bit in the center, and just use your pliers until you get it, or your fingers and your pliers, or your fingers only, or your pliers only, until you get the shape that you want. This one's a little more pointy, so I'm going to keep going a little bit. A little more of a boop. Until I have a matching earring. There we go. There it is. Excellent. So now I have 2 oval earrings. Showed you already how to do the French style ear wire. You just repeat that process and your 1 pair of earrings is finished. The next thing is going to be, I'm going to show you how to do the same thing, except that we're going to add a bead over here in the spiral. We're going to add a couple of beads in the spiral. So I've already got it started, so you don't have to watch that process again. So there's my circle, there's my hoop. Okay. And this is where I'm going to put my beads. Okay, so I've got my excess here. Again, this is 10 inches, 2 inches longer than the other one that I did not put any adornment on. So I gave myself an extra couple of inches, so I have enough to play with. So first thing I'm going to do is put my first bead on. See how the other one is. Okay, wide part first. And then my second bead, the blue bead, that one on. Okay, there's that. And then I'm going to make a spiral on the bottom. Now I can see it depends on how big you want your spiral to be. I want 1, 2, 3 full loops. So that's going to be about 1.25 inches or so. So let's see. Yeah, that's going to be about 1.25 inches, which is just barely below the bottom of my ring. And again, it depends on how big you want your spiral to be. If you wanted a bigger spiral, you didn't have to cut anything off. Okay, so in order to make my spiral, I take my round nose pliers and I grab the tip of the wire with the tip of my pliers. Make sure none of the wire is sticking out of that tip. And I'm going to slowly make a loop. Okay, got my little loop in there. And now I'm going to continue to spiral. So once I've got a closed loop like that, I'm going to take my pliers off to the side. You can either use the round nose or the flat nosed ones. Some people find it easier to use the flat ones, but I'll tell you a secret. If you only have round nose pliers, you can still do this. Just go back to the farthest back of your pliers and use that to make your spiral, because that's where you have the best grip. So I can start turning my wire and just wrapping it around itself. Till I have a nice spiral. And I've shown you how to do spirals before that were a lot more open than this. This one, I just want to show you a closed one. Okay, so there's my spiral. And now I want to direct it so that it's not over on the side. I'm going to make it a little bit closer to my bead. Okay, so I don't want it quite over to the side like that. So what I'm going to do is take the tip of my pliers and just bend it back. There. So now it's a little more centered. And if that's not still centered enough, then use your fingers or your pliers and bend it until it is. And now I just want to direct my beads where I want them to go inside my hoop. I just want them to go down the center. And I can also take my little round item that I was shaping, and I can put this back on there just to make sure it's nice and round the way I wanted it, in case some of the roundness got taken away from all of the maneuvers that you were doing. You can just stick that back in there, get it reshaped. And there we have it. We've got it. Nice. And last but not least, we're going to do this nice little heart. Now we have the same, put the bead on top here, just like we did with this one. Make our little loop. Now we're going to ignore this right now because we're going to make a spiral at the end. But first, I want to shape this into a heart. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the center just beneath the center of the top of your bead. So there's my center, and you can just kind of eyeball it to see where it is. So it's just right about there. And I'm going to take my pliers, check it again, make sure I'm where I want it to be. And I'm just going to put a little bend in it because you want to have that sharp little point that you have on a heart. So I'm going to put a little bit of a bend, just a small one, just a small bend. And now I'm going to start shaping my heart. And in order to do that, I'm going to take my fingers on the bead and I'm going to start pushing the bead down, just smushing it down. Until it's starting to widen out the circle. See how it's starting to get wider? There. And now I need to shape. Round this up. See how that's a little angled? I need to round that out a little bit. Pushing down, rounding out. And you just use your fingers and your pliers until you get your heart shaped the way you want it. You can make it fat, you can make it long. It depends on the look that you're after. So I just keep shaping it with my fingers and with my pliers until it looks the way I want. And just keep on playing until you have the right shape. And what I'm going to do is take the one that I have, once I get it to almost where I want it, put them together and shape it using that form. See, this one's nice and wide. So I'm going to pull this apart, pull this out, push this down, pull those sides out. Starting to look a little bit more like my other one. Yes. Push this down a little bit more. Use my pliers for that. A little shape there. A little shape there. And then, once I have it about the way I want it, let's check it off again. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yes. Then what I like to do, once I have it the shape that I want, I'll lay it down and see how it's kind of popping up off of my table. So I want it to lay a little bit flatter. It's a little more of a bend than I want. There, I wanted to lay a little bit flatter. So what I'm gonna do, I have this little hammer that I got from the dollar store. It's just a little rubber hammer. Now you can buy the proper hammer, but why pay $15 for it when you can pay $1? It does the same thing. It's a rubber hammer. It will not take the paint off of any of your wires that you have. It's very, very gentle on the paint. And then I just that, and that straightens it out. And what I mean when I say straighten, it keeps the different pieces of wire from popping up all over the place. It kind of flattens everything. There. Now, be careful. You don't want to hit where the bead is. You don't want to hit where the wrap is. You want to stay down below that. There. That's it. Now that also helps to harden your wire so it'll retain its form. So there's my heart. Now I need to make my spiral to match this spiral. You see that? There we go. Yeah. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to direct my wire down, just like I did with the other one on this one, except that this time I'm not going to put a bead on it. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a shaping so that it's kind of delicately sloped, like so. And now I'm going to do a spiral. Again, I only want a couple of loops, so I'm going to cut it down to about just where the frame is. So just down at the bottom of the frame, I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to make my spiral. So again, the tip of my pliers grabs the tip of my wire, like so. Put a little bend in it. And make a spiral. First thing I want is a nice closed loop. So there's my loop. And I'll take my pliers. I showed you how to do it with the round nose pliers and how you can do it with the flat nose pliers. Grab the side of your loop and start to rotate. And this one is a little more open, so I won't push the loops as closely together. Let's check this one, see if they look about the same. So I want 1.5 loops because I want it to be a dangled loop or a dangling spiral. There's my spiral, and there's my heart. Give it a little bit more definition up here. It's more heart-like. And there we have it. Now remember, when you put them in your ears, you want them to be opposite, because you want, if you want your spiral to be going towards the back on both of them, then you need to turn one this way. We'll say, okay, my spiral is going to the front. So here's my spiral going to the front, just to give you an idea. Whenever you have something that's directional, you have to make sure you put your ear wires in correctly. So if I put this earring in that's your right side, in my right ear, then my spiral is going to be going towards the back, I think. And then the other one needs to go the same way. So the ear wire needs to go in the other side. So I put my wires together, my hearts together, and I put one ear wire in one direction and the other ear wire in the other direction. And this is what I have. A beautiful pair of heart earrings, all made from the same initial pattern. All you need is a circle, a little bit of extra wire and some beads, your own imagination as to how you want to shape them. And it's probably endless. You can make triangles out of this. You can make squares out of this. You can do all kinds of things, and all you need to do is start with that one little piece of wire. But I wanted to show you these 3 shapes, these 3 possibilities, and then you can use your own imagination and go from there. So that's today's tutorial. Those 3 ear wires or earrings, along with the earring that we did with the cloth. I hope to see you make some of these things, because I would love to see you post them so that other people can see what you've done. It's always a lot of fun to see what somebody else has done. So that's today. That's our earrings. And if you, for any reason, have any suggestions of the things that you would like to see made, please let me know. The email is there on the site, on the Facebook page. please get in contact with me. Let me know what it is you might have any questions about. If we haven't covered it on here, ask me the questions. If I can answer them, I will. And if you have any suggestions of things that you would like to see made or demonstrated or taught, please let me know, because I would love to do it. This gives me an opportunity to do things that I may not normally do in the classroom because of time constraints or other constraints, and I can also do things that are really, really easy, or things that are a little bit more challenging that I might not be able to do in the classroom, because most of them are beginner classes. So if you have any suggestions at all of things that you would like to see, I would really, really love to hear from you, and I'd really love to hear from you anyway. So go ahead, post comments, send me an email, let me know what you think, and I hope you like this. Again, stay safe, stay well, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.